Okay then, I was driving along the other day and I happened to spot a couple of weed eaters sitting in the free pile beside somebody's curb. So of course whipped in and picked them up, and this is what I came up with. This first one is probably an early 90s McCulloch Mac 65 SL 2-cycle weed trimmer, and it looks pretty complete. You can see here 40-to-1 fuel mix using McCulloch custom oil and all that. So what I do see wrong with it is that it's got a missing rope, or the rope's probably in there and the handle came off. So like I said, this one looks like it stands the best chance of actually being something that can be used because it's all there. It's even got string in it. And the other one, I'll just show you it real quick. We're not going to mess with it right now, but it's a Homelite D725 CD. It's got the most horsepower in its class. I'm sure happy to see that. It's even got a strap with it, but it's missing the trimmer head. So that in and of itself is probably no big deal, but we'll get to that one at another point. But this one, I'm going to go ahead and tear into this. I'm going to have to get this cover off and figure out how to get the rope back out of it so we can use it. So let me get started on this and I'll pick back up in a minute. Okay then, well, as Musty says, we're in. And this is not a real hard job to get this split apart. Essentially you have 4 screws, bolts, whatever you want to call them, that go from the case here into the engine itself. You have one here, one down below down here, and one over there. 4. And then you have to take 2 bolts out of the bottom, as you can see, of the gas tank, which go that direction. And you also, well, probably the first thing you'll need to do really is just you have to take this accelerator cable out of its, throttle cable out of its bracket here. So you do that in however order you want to do it, but that's the way it works. And then this thing comes apart, and you want to be careful because your kill switch is right here, and this does not unclip, as you can see. So anyway, don't tear that thing apart. So the good news is this thing spins good and it feels like it's got good compression. So that's the good news. The bad news is right now I don't have any string to go in this thing. It goes right in this reel right here like a lawnmower. You're just simply going to take that retainer off right here and pull it out and rewind it. I don't have any string and I don't have a handle. So I'll go get that and reload that thing, and we'll put this back together. And I'm hoping that since there's no fuel in it, that the carburetor is going to be operable. Looks like the fuel lines are good. They're old, but they're good. They're not broken. This one does go down into the tank all the way, so I believe you can see the end of it right there. Like I said, it looks like it's 100 years old, but anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning up on it too. It's been sitting a while, but I'm glad to see that this is one of these fully adjustable carburetors. This is one of these that before the smog police got their hands and everything and made them so they couldn't be adjusted. But it's probably gonna have at least one of these is a wide open mixture and idle mixture, low speed mixture, and there's another one there too. I haven't figured out what that one's for yet. You got 2 there and 1 there. But first of all, we're gonna get it back together and make sure to leave them run. So. And then I'm going to use it because this, I tell you, I've got one that I like. Okay, this is a 4-cycle. This is a Troy-Bilt. It's upside down, but this is a 4-cycle that I bought. I'm going to tell you something. I like it. It cuts pretty good, but this is the heaviest SOB I've ever had in my life. It about kills my back to use it. So this one's quite a bit smaller, and it's got a curved head on it. And so if this thing will work, I'll keep this one. And the other one I may use just to either, I may fix it if it's easily fixed, or if it's not easily fixed, I'll use it for some trading material for something else that somebody else has that I want. So that's the story on that. And also, I've got some good used motor oil. If anybody would like to have some, I've got plenty. I've got, not only do I have that full pan there and a partial pan there with a filter included, I've got these over here. These 3 are full, and those are soon to be full. So if you want any used motor oil and you're in the North Alabama area, please give me a ring. And a couple other things I noticed. Well, at least one of the things. For the second time, I've noticed my neighbor's mailbox there that somebody has stopped and taken something out of the mailbox in the evening time. Just like I saw that about 2 weeks ago. Not putting mail in the box, it's not the mail carrier, it's somebody in some random vehicle taking something out of the mailbox. So, you know, I'm not a neophyte. I wonder what that is. They're probably, like I said last time, they're probably making food donations to the food bank, and they're just coming by to pick those up, you think? I tell you, Alabama, and I'm not going to get into a rant, but Alabama is a terrible, 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 terrible state to live in. Terrible. If you don't believe me, just look at the news on the trials and potential impeachments and all that are governor and Speaker of the House and good old Judge Roy Moore. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of him. The good old 10 Commandments judge. The people of Alabama were stupid enough to elect him again because the people of Alabama are stupid enough to vote for those conservative Republicans who are all so good and they're honest and they're not taking any money from anybody and they're not doing anything wrong. You're learning. Anyway, not a political rant, not a political video, just wanted to throw that in. So anyway, guys, let me go get some string, and I may continue this in the morning. It's up pretty late in the evening now. So I'm going to carefully set that to the side so it doesn't get rained on, and then go from there. And so hopefully tomorrow we'll have a cold start video on this good old McCulloch 2-cycle weed trimmer. I'll see you in a minute. Okay then, well, if this looks like this is the next day, that's because it is the next day, and I'm working again on this weed trimmer, this McCulloch Mac 65 SL, and I went ahead and pulled the recoil assembly, the starter assembly out of it, and all I had to do to get that out is down here in the bottom, there's this little guy that screwed in with a Torx screw. They're all Torx screws, and you just undo that, and then this assembly, which is your recoil spring and your, like a one-way clutch, I guess you could say it is like this, and it's just going to come out of there, and you can take the spring, just lift the spring off of it. It's not under tension or anything. It's got a backing plate that just sits in right there also, and this is your back side of your clutch, which is not really a clutch at all. It's just the way this is made. It's got the clutch part of it really is over here. It's got these little tabs that permit it, well, focus, permit it to freewheel one direction and then catch the other on these teeth right here. So it's a very, very, very simple thing to deal with. But what we have to do is we have to put a new cord on this, because that's what was wrong with it. This is the end of the cord that was in there, and fits down kind of right in like this. It's got a knot made on the end of it, and then that part that you see that's got the tuft on the end of it comes out. If you see right down in there, there's a hole there through the spool, and it comes out here, and then it's going to be wrapped around and then go out the top, the little access part right there where you pull it, and then you'll put a handle on it. So I've got all that over here to deal with. So what we have to do is, this is more easy to explain than it is to actually show it, but you have to put your line in, put your cord in, make your knot here where it's supposed to be, just make one little small knot, and go ahead and take your lighter and cauterize it, which means you're going to kind of melt this nylon like this one was done so it doesn't unwind itself, the knot doesn't come loose. And then what has to happen is, you don't want to put your handle on, but you want to run it on out the hole there where it goes, the line, and you want to have this clutch put together and put on here. So you want to run it all the way so it's almost, but not quite, all the way to the end of its spring tension. That means you want to wind it tight, and then what's going to happen is when you let loose of it, and don't, you know, put your guide back on there. When you let loose of it, it's going to turn back like it's under spring tension, and it's going to draw in the line and wrap the line around it. So, and then you can put a handle on it. And what you'll do when you put the handle on is you can just, you know, instead of trying to estimate it, you can just pull it out a little ways and do your knot, put your handle on, do your knot, and then when you let it go, you just pull it back tight against it. So, yeah, like I said, it's easier to really, I'll show you that step, but that's what you're going to do. Because I may, you know, it's been a long time since I've done one of these, and I may have to fool around with it myself to figure it out. But keep you guys from having to sit through that. But also, this has got a little bit of grease on the back of it, it's supposed to have. So I'm going to be sure I'm going to put just a little bit back on here, some white lithium grease, so that thing runs smoothly. So, okay then, that's what we're going to do. So let's get doing it. Okay, so now comes the part where I will leave you, the little people, of the burden of your failed and useless lives. No, actually, what happens is I have to remember now, if I can remember how to do this the right way. Let's see. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to wind this thing up. So just turn it, turning it counterclockwise, looking at the end of it. Trying to show you this as best I can. Whoa. Hold your hand on that. You saw that? That thing got away from me. Because it's supposed to be against the back of that. You want to make sure that you're not winding the cord up around it. So that's what I'm doing. Is I'm going to count about 6 turns here. So I'm going to do one more turn on this or so. And that should have it tight enough to do what we want to do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this in, and we're going to carefully attempt to reassemble this back onto the spindle without it unwrapping on us. Oh, don't do that, don't do that. There's probably a better way to do this, I'm sure. That ain't it. Doing. Well, okay, since that spring explosion, I've went and sat down in the house and gathered my thoughts and pulled myself together and came back out here. Not really. I've been messing with this thing. I got this thing back together, and I'm going to tell you something. If you haven't had the pleasure of rewinding a recoil spring and a weed eater before, it's something that everybody needs to do at least once in their life. I think this design of this thing, the patent for it's probably held by Volvo, but I didn't, I was doing good to get it back together, so I didn't film that. There's tutorials on how to rewind these, but suffice to say, you have to string the whole string, most of the spring out, like across the yard, and then this cup that it's in, that old metal cup's got a slot in it, and you hold this part and that cup together and rewind it together without it coming apart until the thing pulls it all the way back in, and go from there. And I didn't have the spring turned the wrong way just once. I had it done that twice. I had to take this 3 times. So finally, I've got this thing. You see those teeth right there, though, obviously. Got this thing oriented the right way so that when you pull on it, the teeth hit the part of that engine that it's supposed to hit. I know that's simplified, but that's, if it's on the ramp, pulling it the other way, it ain't gonna work. Ain't gonna even start it. So hopefully this is together. So I got my string on there, and what I did was I have my string like I showed you, just put in the little retaining hole there, and you can run it out. And what you do is you wind this thing by hand against the spring tension with the string not wrapped around it. In other words, you want the string just to come straight out with no wrap on it. And then when you get it wound several times against spring pressure and you have your string up through the hole right there, then you can orient it the right way. Just make, bring this part where it goes through all the way to the top, and then slowly let the spring go, and it'll draw the string back in. Any of you who've worked on this before and lawnmowers, you know all about what I'm talking about. So anyway, that's a pain in the rear. I'm glad to be done with that part. And actually, this did separate. This did have a little plug right here, so I was able to get this part of this away from the engine, thankfully. So anyway, onward, and I'm going to go ahead and put my handle on, and what I'm going to do is, this thing is in a slack position right now, So I really don't want it like that. I want a little bit of tension on it, so I'm going to draw out this rope a little ways and do my handle and my knot, and then that way it won't just be completely loose under here. You know, it'll be in, you know what I'm saying. So that's the way I'm going to do it. So anyway, let me do that. Okay, I got this thing back together and got it fueled. So we're going to pull on it and see what happens. Looks like it's been sitting a while. Let's see. I'm gonna have to, probably gonna have to reposition the guys here a little bit. The reel is gonna be against the reel's gonna be against the. I'll put you over here. How about that? Gonna be against the table if I don't do that. How's that? Okay, full choke. Bottle's not stuck at least, that's good. Choke off. Partial choke. Let's see. Start, run, start. More choke. That's the gas there. This is the kind of gas that's got the fuel pump made with the carpet. Okay. Let's pull that plug and check it real quick. Before I pull my arm off. Okay, plug looks good. And we're getting sparked, so I watched enough of Musty One's videos to know what to do next. Of course, I don't have my handy squeeze bottle like he does, but it's okay. There. Pop. Okay, I think we're gonna have to take a look at the carburetor. Bummer. Alright, we're in. So this is this little Walbro carburetor, and it's pulling fuel up, so I know that it's trying to do that. It's probably one of these that's got like a I see this big diaphragm. I'll tell you, I don't know much about these, but this may be one of these that has this diaphragm in it that serves as sort of a fuel pump. But to start off with, I was looking, got the air cleaner off, and this air filter is garbage. So we don't want to even run that with it disintegrating like that. It's had it. So I'm gonna just go ahead, and this is the style that you have to have the bolts into the air cleaner, I guess, to keep the whole thing together. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of this remains of this air filter, this foam air filter, and I'll get another one for that, but provided it runs. And then I think what I'm going to do is, I sound just like RP, but I think what I'm going to do next is, after that, I'm going to pull these two jets out. One's probably a high speed and one's a low speed, and I'm going to just spray out the carburetor. Now this carburetor probably needs to be totally rebuilt, but at this point, which I may do that, but for right now I'm just going to try that. I'm just going to run these screws in and count the turns on them so I know where they were set to give me a rough estimation of where to put them back at, and we'll try that and see if that brings this thing to life. If not, I will have to get a kit for it and overhaul it. The engine feels good. Feels like it's got plenty of compression, so that's good. Hopefully it wasn't done. Somebody didn't do something stupid like run it on straight gas or whatever. But it feels stout, like it's got plenty of resistance. So I think if we can get the carburetor to run and work, we'll get the whole machine to operate. But let's go ahead and see what we can do with this. See you in a minute. Okay, just wanted to show you something interesting. This is this Walbro carburetor, and I took these two jets out. They were each just under 1.5 turns out. And I noticed after I got the jets out, or the adjusting, I guess you would say those are jets, rods, whatever you want to term those. Anyway, it helpfully shows you that this one is low, the rear, and this is high. That means this is your low speed mixture adjustment. This is your high speed mixture adjustment. So the low speed is the shorter of the two, and this is the high speed, so longer of the two. So that way you know which is which. So let's go ahead and just doctor on this thing a little bit and see where we get with it, and see if we can make it do something. Okay, carburetor just didn't want to work. That plug's dry. It's not really getting any fuel on it. Half choke. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, alrighty then. I suppose that we'll have to end up just overhauling this carburetor. I guess it's got dirt in it or something's up with it, but I'll have to do that. And I'll probably run up the hills in the morning. That's our local lawnmower supply to come in. I'll see if they've got a kit for this carburetor. see what's going on. I guess it's just dried out. Oh well. Tried. We'll get on it and get it going. Alright, back at you in a little bit.